Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, how something as simple as a rucksack could change somebody's life this Christmas. We've got big questions for little kids.
We're from Coombridge Primary School in Inigo.
And joining me in the studio is Sean Brown from Care for All to tell us what they'll be doing over the festive season and beyond. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm James Dunn, but first it's over to Erica Barker for the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, Scunthorpe Railway Station is to receive a share of £60 million in government funding to improve access for passengers. Shared between 26 stations, it aims to help those with limited mobility, people with heavy luggage and parents with prams. With the plans in place for step-free access between each platform and accessible routes into the station via lifts. Residents in North East Lincolnshire are being asked their opinions on garden waste collection in a public consultation. The council needs to cut its budget deficit, and changing to garden waste services is one of the ways the council aims to do this. The two options available to residents are scrapping the curbside collections and for an annual charge to be brought in. David Watson, portfolio holder for Environment and Housing at the council, outlines the responses he's received so far.
We've been contacted already by people on both sides of the argument. There's as many that want the service to continue as want to cancel. Those I do know personally. I know people that's got extra bins already and pay for extra bins because it's cheaper than taking it to the recycling centre. And if people want to opt out the service, we do have 2 recycling centres in the area that they can take their green waste to.
And with the party season in full swing, East Riding of Yorkshire Council is urging people to think before they drink as part of the national campaign. They say it isn't about not enjoying yourself but drinking within national recommended guidelines, considering non-alcoholic beverages such as mocktails. Humberside Police is appealing for witnesses following an alleged arson in Cottingham. The incident took place at Caldgate Farm on Eppleworth Road on around 12:20 hours on Tuesday the 9th of December. It's thought the fire was started inside the property, causing extensive damage. And Grimsby Town players brought smiles to the faces of children facing a stay in hospital this Christmas, bringing some festive cheer to the Rainforest ward at Grimsby's Hospital. The football stars handed out an array of gifts, including signed memorabilia, and there seemed to be smiles all round, with patients and staff delighted to meet them.
It's lovely. It's a nice opportunity for us as players to obviously appreciate, you know, what some families are having to go through. It's obviously not a nice thing to have your child in hospital over the Christmas period, so we would like to do whatever we can to, you know, just to try and break the day up and just have a nice little input, and whatever impact it has, it's obviously a nice bonus for us as players to be able to deliver that.
And that's all from me. More later.
Thank you, Erica. Now, you might have seen blue plaques around North Lincolnshire's villages highlighting sites with a huge historical significance, buildings visited or lived in by some very esteemed figures. Well, recently a campaign to introduce the plaques in Hull has gained some momentum, and community group Probe has funded one to mark the birthplace of the pioneer of the British film industry. The birthplace of J. Arthur Rank has now been restored, and Dave Nunn went to look around.
It could be mistaken for any other derelict house in any other city. This house, however, has special significance in Hull's history.
And everyone's very excited to be involved in the project. It's a fantastic project. It's a great part of history in Hull. Leading up to the 2017 City of Culture, it's absolutely amazing. It's the corner piece of a glorious jigsaw it is in the Hull City.
The house was where J. Arthur Rank was born. Rank had a huge influence on the British film industry, from creating the British National Films Company in 1934 and then founding Pinewood Studios a year later.
Well, because it is an historic building, it's got very strong associations with the city, and particularly with the Year of Culture coming up, the birthplace of a local person who went on to create the J. Arthur Rank Film Organisation. So it's got a huge sort of significance culturally, locally. So, you know, whilst we need to create really good, efficient living spaces, things like the outside of the building and the entrance of the building and stuff, we want to have that Victorian effect and look.
The question now is whether all the hard work will leave behind something that is functional and reflects the house's historic significance.
I think so, yeah. There's been a heck of a lot of interest in it. So, yeah, I think people, notice the difference. It's not quite, like new, but not far off. It's a very, very good restoration, which is what the plaque over there deserves, and the history and Hull, really. It's one of the main routes into Hull on its prominent thoroughfare. It's just nice to have another piece restored.
Now it's hoped the house will serve as a standing memorial to one of Hull's famous sons.
You're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, the pupils of Coombriggs Primary School star in Big Questions to Little Kids.
We're from Coombriggs Primary School in Inningham.
And we join Dan Kemp for a roundup of the sport. Next on the show, my guest is Sean Brown from Care for All, a charity that supports older people and people with disabilities in North East Lincolnshire. They're coming to the end of a very successful year, and Sean's in today to tell me about a few of the things they've got planned in 2015. Sean, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So briefly, describe to me what it is that Care for All does.
Care for All itself is a local charity. It used to be a social enterprise. We support people with disabilities and older people. We also employ people with disabilities. 20% of our workforce have got some form of disability themselves. That's against the national average of about 2%. And we work with older people with disabilities to get them into social inclusion, get them involved with the community and things like that, and just to enhance their lives.
Now, you started off with something called Jobs for All around 8 years ago, and that was primarily like what you've been saying about getting people with disabilities into employment.
That's right. We recognised that people with disabilities will find it very difficult to find employment themselves. We started off trying to help people into employment. That didn't really work, so what we did, we created our own business to employ people with disabilities.
But over the years, I mean, particularly in the face of government and council cuts to a lot of services, you've really diversified, particularly over the last 2 years, haven't you?
Yeah, we identified 3 years ago with all the local government cuts and all the council cuts coming along that some of our services, and their flagship services, the Meals on Wheels service, it's now the Meals Plus service, the day centres of people with disabilities and older people, were under real pressures of being cut because of the funding cuts, and we wanted to take action to make sure we kept those in North East Lincolnshire, we kept them open at a sustainable level. So we moved those into Jobs for All. That became a charity, and it works really well. And over the last 2 years, we've managed to run a sustainable business.
It's interesting that you use that word sustainable. You used it a couple of times in the last sentence, because how is it that councils can't seem to make these services run sustainably, yet you seem to be able to do so?
I suppose it's sometimes having a business background rather than a council background. My background is in business. I worked for Young's Blue Crest for a number of years, and looking where we can save every penny. Sometimes the council have almost a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and whatever you do, somebody will pay for it. Times have changed since then. That money is gone, so you've got to be efficient with everything we do. We're just at the moment looking at an efficiency thing for our cafes at the moment, and we're squeezing every penny that we can. For example, one of our suppliers was supplying a crate of Coke for a certain amount, and we've got another supplier at 29 pence less for a crate of Coke. Doesn't make a massive difference in its own, but as a business, we squeeze every penny we can out.
I mean, it's interesting you talking about every penny, because even though you're a charity, you don't really focus on donations, do you? You focus on people paying for the services.
That's right. We don't ask for people's money. We have a number of textile banks around Grimsby and Cleethorpes and the surrounding areas. We ask people to donate their old textiles, but we want them to come and use our cafes, our day centres, our health and wellbeing centres, our services, and pay for those as you would any other business. We pride ourselves that the people use those services not because we're a charity and they're trying to support us, but because they're good services. The extra bit, the extra selling point, is by supporting us and supporting those great services and getting a good service yourself. You're also maybe helping somebody who's disabled into work, and there's extra bonuses by working for us but using those services. But it's about you buying those services from me because you want that service. We do the best coffee in town at the new Superstop.
So tell me a little bit about the things that you've got coming up over the next year, few weeks even.
We've just had our successful awards evening on Friday night. We was at the Town Hall for a big party, really well engaged. So we had an awards evening there, 7 or 8 different awards, best volunteer, best team, went down really well. What we've got in the new year is a big expansion to our Meals Plus service. Yeah. It's been very successful in North East Lincolnshire.
Just to clarify, this is what most people would know as Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels. We call it Meals Plus because it's more than just a meal. We will do medication checks and make sure people are all right. It may be the one visit that somebody gets in the day. We can't spend an enormous amount of time because obviously we've got hot meals to deliver, but people will do more than just deliver a meal. So we call it the Meals Plus service. People do call it Meals on Wheels and it is there. But we're now promoting that into Northern Lincolnshire. So if you've got any of your viewers who are interested in that, please contact us, get involved.
And this is a good example of something that used to be provided by local councils, isn't it?
It was provided by a local council. They were subsidising people to pay it right. They still subsidise some people who are eligible for subsidies, but we as a business can supply it to anybody at a reasonable rate. The great thing about us as a business and as a charity, we're asset locked. Any money that we raise for the business goes back into the business. So there's no directors, there's no shareholders that are taking money off things. Anything we raise goes back into the business.
And Sean, just quickly, if people do want to get in touch with you and find out any more about the services you provide, how can they do that?
They can ring us, they can contact us via our website. If they want to know about the Meals Plus service, the number is 629 066. Careful itself has a switchboard number.
I'm going to have to cut you off, but people find it on the website.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, thanks.
Most of us, it's the season to be jolly, but sadly, for those less fortunate, it's just winter time, cold and wet. That's why in 2009, the Rucksack Project was set up in Bristol to offer a bag full of essentials like food and sleeping bags to people on the streets. The movement has gained serious momentum, spreading as far as Australia and as near as Scunthorpe, Lincoln and Hull. But it's not yet reached North East Lincolnshire until now. I spoke to some of the people involved. Charity workers believe benefit cuts are forcing more and more people onto the streets, and for many of us, it's hard to imagine the hardships they face.
It's the simple things that people don't realise really. If, for example, you want to go to the toilet, you know, what do you do? And you do need toilet paper. You do need these sort of things that we take so much for granted. Just go one evening and get up in the morning and don't brush your teeth. Don't have a wash.
The Rucksack Project was set up to help these people. Individuals or groups put together a bag full of winter essentials to make the coldest and wettest time of the year more bearable. The movement spread as far as Australia and as close as Hull and Scunthorpe, but not to North East Lincolnshire, much to the surprise of Roger Bentley.
Checked for one local. There was Hull, Lincoln and Scunthorpe, and as I said, just a gaping hole in Grimsby and Cleethorpes, and I thought, well, I will email them, see if they've got somebody doing it, and I can give them a hand maybe. Very surprised to come back to say there was nobody doing it.
Roger has now joined forces with homeless charity Harbour Place to make the rucksacks, which they'll give away to homeless people at Blundell Park on Friday. But they'll need your help.
People should get together. I think the idea of producing a rucksack on your own is an expensive issue. They're not cheap. The items that go in there, obviously the better quality, the better for the person. They get together, get the clubs, get the pubs, five-a-side football teams, cricket teams, drinking partners, quiz teams, get together, neighbours, make a rucksack up.
And your small contribution could make a big difference to someone this Christmas.
It just makes it a little bit more bearable at this time of year, really. We do open during the day for people, so people can get a hot meal and drinks throughout the day. And on an evening and a weekend, it becomes more difficult.
And if you'd like to help, you can hand in rucksacks at Blundell Park on Friday or get in touch via the Grimsby Rucksack Project's Facebook page. There's also various drop-off points in Hull. Just visit rucksackproject.org to find out more about your local scheme. And now it's over to big questions to little kids. This week it's the pupils from Coombe Briggs Primary School answering the question, is Christmas too commercial?
We're from Coombe Briggs Primary School in Inningham.
To me, the meaning of Christmas means spending time with family, and it's not about greed and wanting everything. It's about having the joy of decorating the Christmas tree and wrapping up the presents for other people to enjoy playing with.
The meaning of Christmas is that we celebrate when Jesus was born.
The meaning for Christmas for me is all my friends and family coming over and we all like to have a laugh. Also, the meaning of Christmas is to celebrate the birth of Jesus on Christmas Day.
It's really about all like sharing, it's really about happiness and spending time with your family.
How much should you spend on a present?
And the best present is probably homemade, so it probably means twice as much as something bought.
Friends, it should be about £5 to £10, and for family about £30 to £40.
Well, it would depend who it was. If it was a family member, I would spend around £20 to £50. And if it was a friend, I'd spend 10 to 15.
What's the most looking forward to?
And playing in the snow after you've opened all your presents.
Seeing someone else opening presents what I bought them.
My great nana coming out of the hospital, so yeah.
That's lovely. Now, in that time of the week, it's that time of the week when we talk to people about what's going on in their town or village. My guest today is Margaret Armiger from Friends of the Beck, who's talking to me about Bottisford. So, Margaret, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
We have spent with the council, North Links Council, this is Friends of the Beck, the last 2 years trying to clean up Bottisford Beck, which drains the whole of Scunthorpe. And it has, over the last 3 years, flooded 3 times.
What sort of impact does that flooding have on the area?
It's just about put 2 farmers out of business completely. They don't know what they're going to do because we are working very hard with them to try and get their land viable, but so far not achieving what we're trying to do.
And how are you trying to clean up the beck?
Well, the Friends of the Beck spend a lot of time cutting back bushes, trees, overhanging branches that catch all sorts as it goes down, because anything that's hanging on the trees will divert the water away from the central flow and towards the banks. This is causing a big build-up of water in the banks, which is raising the water table. And that is the problem. The water table is so high on the farms that they can't plough, so they can't reap crops. Every now and again when it drains, because it's really dry, they'll probably try to plant a crop, but you can guess before the crop has ripened that it's got soaked again. And we've got one builder on the opposite side of the beck to where the planned developments are. I'll come back to the planned developments in a minute. And they are spending tens of thousands of pounds draining the silt out of the foundations of the houses so they can continue building.
So tell me more about these developments, because they could mean a big change in Bottisford.
There are 2 applications for developments on the beck side, right up to the river edge. Both of these are businesses in Scunthorpe. Both of them know the problems associated with the beck. Both of them have been involved and both of them have been kept informed. But they've decided that they will take a chance and see if they can get development planning permission, which will put in excess of 2,000 houses on one of the plots and 360 on the other.
And what do you think the impact of the sort of volume of new homes we're talking about will be on the area?
Well, for our area in Bottisford, A, we don't need it. It's a small village and we haven't got the facilities, shops and things like that. We just haven't got the facilities for them. And B, it will have a knock-on effect on the beck itself, which, as I say, drains the whole of Scunthorpe. And it floods down our end because we're at the end of it. Just beyond us, it goes into the Trent.
And is that work that you're doing having an impact on the environment at the moment?
Definitely. We have constructed a 5-mile linear park and bridleway. We've done our best to improve the wildlife. We've now got a vast variety of wildlife in the water and the area around. Fish in the beck, owls, kingfishers, and they will all go. If 2,000 or 3,000 houses come down here, it will become urbanised and it will destroy the natural area. And we've raised £300,000 in order to do this. The Friends of the Beck, in unison with the Environment Agency, the North Links Council, and the Severn Trent Water.
Thank you, Margaret, and all the best in the future. Right, now it's over to Dan Kemp for the sport.
We've got some more results to bring you in rugby union. Hull Ionians ran over 4 tries in their 29-14 beating of Huddersfield. The result, which sees Eyes remain at the top of National League 2 North, featured 2 penalty tries before Danny Haig went over. Steve Sligsby then ran almost the length of the field to score this try in the final minute to give Ionians the win and keep them on course for a return to National League 1. Elsewhere in the division, Hull IUFC remained 14th after a 22-12 defeat at home to Birmingham Solihull. The side are in serious need of a string of wins to pull themselves clear of the relegation picture. In football, and the Northern Counties East League Premier Division, and Cleethorpes Town, sitting in 7th in the league, lost 1-0 at home to 11th place Arthurs League. This penalty was the only goal. Elsewhere in the league, and Bridlington Town sit 6th, and Barton Town Old Boys are 8th, meaning they'll have a strong chasing pack in our area vying for a place in the Northern Premier League. The Humber Warhawks lost out in their first and indeed the first American Associate Bowl. They lost 22-0 at the Halton Spartans at the Select Security Stadium in Widnes on Sunday. And in football, North Ferriby United play their FA Trophy first round replay tonight at Boston United. The game kicks off at 7:45 at Boston's York Street ground and sees the Conference North 7th place side host the Villagers in 10th. The first game between the two ended 1-1 at the Eon Visual Media Stadium on Saturday. And as mentioned yesterday, the draw for round 2 has already been made, and the winner will take on Conference North side Hyde. And that's all for the sport.
Thanks, Dan. Well, I'm afraid that's all from us. Join me tomorrow evening when my guest will be Hull poet Audrey Dunn. Contact us on the usual ways, email news@estuary.tv or contact us through social media via Twitter or Facebook. Also, you can pick up the phone and call 01472 31 553. Bye for now.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather with me, Luke Smith. Breezy and often cloudy on Wednesday, although milder with some bright spells in the east. Isolated outbreaks of rain are possible, mainly in the west. On Thursday, outbreaks of rain are likely again, more persistent in the west, with a maximum temperature for both days of 12 degrees.